That's your first Jody moment where you're so off base, I can't even discuss it.
I'll take it. Welcome back in, everybody, to Thursday's edition of Birds 365. Thank you all for being here this morning. One little thing, Johnny Mac, before we go to our top NFC teams. You see, Jason Kelce said he would love to be the purchaser of the minority stake in the Eagles. He said that on his podcast. I think that would be great.
So
that's probably a little bit out of his price range. Maybe
Rob
even rally some
McElhaney
people.
wants it. Bradley Cooper wants it.
Everybody.
Yeah, I don't think any of them. Well, and I don't know what Jeffrey's looking to sell. I assume it's, as I said, they're going off a $7.5 billion valuation.
So if he sells 10% of the team, like you said the other day, that's the math of it. He doubles his initial investment.
Yeah, and that's $750 million. And as rich as those guys are, and I wish I was as rich as Jason Kelce and Rob McElhaney. They don't have that kind of money, so that's unless it's a 1% stake. Hey, maybe they can get that together. So who knows?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize Jeffrey Lurie doesn't have that kind of cash on hand either.
No,
it's a asset worth $7.5 billion. That's why he's doing it. Probably liquidate, get some of his cash out, get his initial.
Pay for the yacht, man. Spent $130 million on the yacht.
Confirmed that Jeffrey Lurie, did he really buy the yacht, or is it all hearsay?
Buy a yacht? Yes. Is it confirmed? I haven't double sourced it, but yes, I've heard that he did buy the yachts.
So Jeffrey Lurie yacht shopping at the end of the year, and he actually makes the purchase. So pretty good stuff. Johnny Mac, let's get to our NFC teams. We've got about 20 minutes until Martin Frank is in. Let's start. I don't know if you have your 7 in front of you or if you're going off the top of your head. Let's start. I want to start going 7-1, but if you don't have a list, that might be tough for you to do.
I can tell you the teams I have in front of them right off the bat.
Well, let's just go one. Let's go one then. One for me, I have the San Francisco 49ers, best roster in the NFC. Johnny Mac, who do you have at 1?
Detroit Lions. The Lions are loaded. They should have won last year. Let's be honest. They outplayed the 49ers. They made, it's tough to say they made mistakes by being so overly aggressive, but if they would have played it safe, and from my standpoint, it's like the reason they were there is because they were that aggressive. So it's hard to, tell them to change at the biggest moment, but it certainly bit them in the ass, and they're just loaded everywhere. So I think they're 1, and I think 49ers are 2.
Interesting. Do you think the Lions have a better roster now than the Niners?
Oh yeah, I think I had a better roster. They completely outplayed the 49ers completely. And again, they missed on some fourth downs and got too overly aggressive and lost the game. The best team doesn't always win. Now you had Terry and Arnold to that defensive backfield. You saw how good Brian Branch was as a rookie. They got Enos Rackstraw. A lot of people early in the process said was going to be a first-round pick. I never believed that, but they added him as well. They got Melifanu, who from Syracuse, Carlton Davis, Kirby Joseph. The defensive front, they added DJ Reader, who's a good player from Cincinnati, to Alim McNeil. That's the guy Tom Donahue wanted to draft for the Eagles and got mad at Howie Roseman for overtaking it. He's turned into a very good player. Aiden Hutchinson is great. I don't love their linebackers, just like the Eagles. So they kind of go about it both ways. We saw they got a lot of criticism.
Did they take a linebacker, though, in round 1?
Well, Jack Campbell.
Right.
Yeah, in the first round. A lot of people criticized them for their first-round picks. The Jamar Gibbs one worked perfectly.
Yeah, Jamar. I mean, he's a tremendous player, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, not so much with Jack Campbell, but maybe he develops, and they still have that possibility. The Eagles don't have a projection like Jack Campbell, even though he hasn't lived up to it yet. Offensively, they have a top 5 offensive line. They're in the conversation.
Yeah, their offensive. You could argue their offensive line is as good.
It could be the best in football. Sam Laporta, Another tremendous. Jared Goff, I think, is the most underrated quarterback in football, and now Jameson Williams is, finally ready to. He's completely healthy, coming off that. So you're adding him to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, they're loaded. They are loaded. The Detroit Lions. They are the best. San Francisco is number 2. And then I start thinking about the Eagles. Green Bay's another team you have to think about it.
Yeah.
Think about they have a ton of young talent. They're in the conversation. I mean, Dallas is still in the conversation. I know people.
Yeah, I don't think Dallas is this high though.
Well, I
have the 49ers 1. I have the Eagles 2. And then you're kind of making me rethink that with that Detroit. I have Detroit 3. They're all it's kind of a pick 'em in all 3
you're
of
being
them.
a homer if you got them over Detroit at this stage.
I mean, I think you could argue the same thing. I mean, I got Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, I got Lane Johnson, I got AJ Brown, I got Devontae Smith, I have Dallas Goedert, I have Saquon Barkley, I have Jalen Hurts, I have Darius Slay, I have Jalen.
All right, now go to the defense. Yeah,
I'm just saying you can
all
run
the
through
talent.
the Eagles too.
The Eagles are very talent heavy on offense, no question about it. They lack depth. I think we've gone through that enough.
Yeah.
People understand. So depth comes into it. As I mentioned, I don't like the Lions linebacker situation all that much. That's the one glaring weakness to me. And I say the same thing here. But they project Alex Anzalone as a starter. He's just a guy, and Derek Barnes, who's another just a guy. But they have Jack Campbell. All right, what if Jack Campbell hits?
Yeah.
The Eagles.
You're saying. Yeah, there's not even anybody with upside like that.
Yeah.
In Philly.
And defensive backfield, again, it's all projection with the Eagles. That Brian Brandt's already showed you. Bang. You hope one of your rookie defensive backs has an impact on the game as much as Brian Branch did last season for the Lions. And then, oh, by the way, the Eagles added Mitchell and DeJean. They added Arnold, who a lot of people thought was better, and Rakestraw. I mean, yeah, to me, the Lions are clearly the most talented team in the NFC, and the 49ers are second, and the Eagles are in the conversation for third. But I can make a argument for Green Bay, and we'll see week 1. People get to see in Sao Paulo, Brazil, how talented, how young and good the talent is there. And the Cowboys are still in the mix. But yeah, I have no problem with going Eagles third. And if you want to put Packers fourth, Cowboys fifth. And then there's a bunch of teams that are the Saints are talented, the Falcons are talented. If Kirk Cousins hits, I think the Bucs are obviously good. You saw that in the playoffs. The Rams are good. The Vikings are extremely talented if they can figure out the quarterback situation, but that's a big if.
I don't know I think Sam Darnold's going to start there. I really do.
There's no doubt in my mind Sam Darnold's going to start. I have some interest in that because he got to be under Kyle Shanahan for a year. So I want to see how that works out. If it doesn't work out, obviously, but if you look at that team, Jefferson, Addison, Hockenson, Aaron Jones, Christian Derrick, Ryan O'Neal. Yeah. They're loaded. They just don't have a proven quarterback. And defensively, everybody knows who watches this show. I'm a huge Brian Flores fan. So they don't have a ton of talent defensively, but he's like, I would say, Vic Fangio plus, in that he's going to get way more out of whatever they give him.
So Johnny Mac has Lions 1, 49ers 2. Didn't really go there, but I'll give Eagles 3 and then Green Bay 4. Who are you going to put in at 5?
Dallas is 5.
I don't have Dallas. I have Dallas that's down at 6 on mine.
Now Dallas has still got a bunch of
They still
talent.
got good players. Yeah, you're right.
I mean,
I have LA.
they may have not extended Dak Prescott, but they still have him. They may have not extended CD Lamb, but they still have him. So I think a lot of their I don't like their running back situation. They brought back Zeke, but who cares
I got
ultimately?
LA. I have LA at 5. So mine is 49ers, then Eagles, then Detroit. Then at 4, I have Green Bay. I think that's guaranteed. They're in that top class nearly. 5, I have LA, and then 6, I have Dallas.
Yeah,
LA, I think, is
I
a
think
sneaky
that's
team. They got
I
the best
think
coach in the NFC, I would say. I know they lost Aaron
now
Donald,
now
but
that I think about it, I just pulled up Dallas. I'm going to put Dallas ahead of Green Bay. Yeah,
well,
I think that's very Philadelphia centric. And again, Micah
that's all right. I'm
Parsons.
fine with you telling me that. I mean, it's just
Micah Parsons, another guy. Just because they didn't extend him, they still have him. So I think a lot of people have criticized Dallas in the offseason because they don't extend their good players, but they still have those players. And then you have Trayvon Diggs coming back from injury to add to Deron Bland. Yeah,
they're
they're
top heavy
very
too. Talk about top heavy team. That's a top heavy team.
they're very talented. Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about their starters. And that's the same thing we're talking about here. So if the Eagles are talented, you got to say they're talented. And they are. I mean, those two teams have been neck and neck for
So you're
years
going to
now.
put Dallas at 4.
Yeah, I'm going to put Dallas at 4, Green Bay at 5. Yeah, you know who else is talented? But I don't like their coach. There's a lot of things I don't like about New Orleans, but they have talent.
They have great talent. I have them right outside the 7 for me. I think I have them
They're especially defensively. They're a pain in the ass to deal with. And Dennis Allen's a defensive coach, and I don't necessarily love that setup. But they're a good team. Seattle, you can make an argument. I'm talking about lower
Yeah, I left
6,
Seattle out of
7.
my
The
7.
Rams, you could make that argument. I think the Rams are a little bit overrated because of Sean McVay and Les Snead and their reputations.
Yeah, I still am high on the quarterback. They have a good running game. The O-line got better. They added Jonah Jackson this year. They upgraded their secondary. The pass rush, I think, is going to be good. They have that verse, and they have
They lost Aaron Donald.
They lost Aaron
And
Donald.
they're assuming Braden Fisk is going to come in and replace Aaron Donald. Yeah, good luck with that. I think they're a little bit overrated because of and Sean deserves his reputation, and so does Les. But I think if anything, they're going to take a step back. And anybody who's been here since day one, I'm a big Stafford guy. I used to argue with Jody about Stafford.
I know you will.
Tremendous quarterback, but he's also 35, 36, whatever he is. Getting closer. He's not what he was in Detroit. But yeah, I think they're a little bit overrated.
Who do you have? So you have Lions, Niners, Eagles, Dallas, Green Bay, and then 6 and 7.
Yeah, then I got a bunch of you mix and match. If you
Unfortunately,
want me to boil it down, if you want me to choose somebody, I would say Vikings 6, Saints 7.
Okay, so yours is different than mine for sure.
And probably, I the Bucks.
Yeah, the Bucks are there, but they're not top 7 to me. What about ATL? You don't have ATL in there.
No,
I think they got some talent.
They're in there as well. It's a whole jumbled bunch of teams. But yeah,
There's a lot of mediocrity right now in the NFC.
I don't like what it tells you. I mean, everybody's got good players. I say that all the time. Part of my issue with Atlanta is I think they build the team incorrectly.
Yeah.
Not that they don't have a bunch of good players, because they do, but everybody has good players in the NFL, including the teams we haven't mentioned. They all have good players. But that's where I'd go. But those, so I had Minnesota 6, New Orleans 7. The difference between them and Atlanta and Tampa Bay and Seattle, minimal.
Yeah, it's pick 'em basically for those last couple spots. So let me just recap real quick. We have about 6 minutes to go, or 7 minutes to go until Martin Frank gets in. So we'll talk to Martin Frank. But J-Mac has Lions as the number 1 team in the NFC. Good stuff. Loaded team. Johnny Mac actually laid that out pretty nicely. Almost convinced me to change my list on the fly. 2 is 49ers. 3 is Eagles. 4 Dallas, 5 Green Bay, 6 Vikings, 7 Saints. So Johnny Mac, that's his top 7 rosters as we are here in June. So this obviously can change, but it's our June ranking of the NFC. I have 49ers 1, 2 Eagles, 3 Detroit, 4 Green Bay, 5 LA, 6 Dallas, 7 ATL. So a little bit of a lot of different lists, but there, like I said, there's last couple are definitely pick'ems. I am not as high on the Cowboys as you are, Johnny Mac. Where's my girl SMD Eagles? She brought it up, and I'm with her on it. Let me see if I can find it. Dallas has no DTs, bad at linebacker, bad at safety, and we'll have rookies starting at center and LT.
Well, they're bad at running back, but I don't give a shit. Just like I don't give a shit that the Eagles are good at running back. I don't give a shit that they're bad at running back. Yeah, I mean, Mozzie Smith obviously has to take a big step forward. He did not have a good rookie season, but again, there's certainly some talent there. And then the other Osa, and I don't want to butcher his name, but the kid from UCLA, he's a good player. I don't know, people haven't noticed that he's a very good player. So yeah, I mean. And defensive backs, we talk about the Eagles' youth. I mean, they're proven. Again, there's some Eagles-centric, and I get it. That's what we are. I get, and they hate the Cowboys. And Micah Parsons. Yeah, the whole thought of, they didn't extend.
Takes plays off. He's a highly overrated. Everybody said he's going to be the next coming of LT. The guy has been nothing close to that. I'm really not that sold on him. He's also
if he were here
in the offseason.
Yeah, now this is an example of Xander, your Eagles colored glasses coming out. If he were here, you would say he's better than Lawrence
doesn't show
Taylor.
Up in any big games either.
And Gary Myers would freaking kill you. First of all, don't compare anybody to Lawrence Taylor. So is he Lawrence Taylor?
I'm not. I'm just telling you what Cowboys fans told me every day when they drafted the guy. And he doesn't. He's talk about diva. The guy's the biggest diva of them all, and he hasn't even earned the right to be.
Well, I mean, people would say the same thing about AJ. I mean, he talks a lot. He should probably.
I think AJ's earned the right, and he's not even a diva.
Well, I agree with that. I've tried to tell people for that a million years. I'm saying he talks a lot. So does Micah. You don't get to be Micah Parsons and not work your ass off. It's same as what I would say about AJ. We were talking a little bit about his off-season work ethic. He doesn't just show up. Now, Micah Parsons has been in the league for 3 years. Not that it's a be-all, end-all. Edge rushers, 1 of 86, 2 of 119, 2 of 112. Those are his 3 seasons. He is unfreaking believable. He is unblockable. If you ask Nick Sirianni about Micah Parsons, strap in, because he ain't going to think what you're thinking. In fact, the first thing he says about Micah Parsons, when we're talking about RPOs, if you can't block him, read him. And that's what the Eagles do with Micah Parsons.
That's what I mean. He's a one-dimensional player.
Because, come on. There are certain players. I used to hear this about Aaron Donald, where people would say, I don't know, to be contrarians. Well, sometimes he doesn't keep his gap in the run game because he's beating his freaking block so quickly. Is he a human being? Is he perfect? No. If he were here in Philadelphia, you would think he's the greatest player in the history of the NFL. He is unbelievable. He is by far, if you want to talk about the Cowboys and the Eagles and you want honesty, by far the best defensive player on either team is Micah Parsons. By far. Nobody has a better ability to block people over the past 5 years in the NFL than the Philadelphia Eagles. And they can't block him. And they admit they can't block him. And that's why they read them.
Lane
So
Johnson blocked him,
don't
didn't
give
he?
me the Eagles fan Micah Parsons can't play or Micah talks this.
I
or
didn't
Micah
say he can't
talks
play.
that.
I said I think he's overrated. I don't think he does what everybody thinks he does. He's not a game wrecker, especially late in seasons.
Oh
where
my God.
I don't
He's not
see
a
it.
game wrecker. He wrecks every game before he even steps on the field because everybody spends their freaking week trying to figure out how to deal with him.
I'm not sold on. I agree. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's this astronomical talent.
I can't.
The
I
Cowboys
can't.
didn't even extend the guy. That
I
means he
can't.
doesn't even have a contract.
And that's what it's about because they haven't extended him. They
That's not
haven't
what it's about,
extended
but
him
that's a
because
part of it.
he's going to get the largest non-quarterback contract in NFL history.
That's what he wants. That's not what he's going to get, John. You think?
You wanna
Wait, so you're
bet?
telling me Nick Bosa or Micah Parsons? You're going to take Micah Parsons?
Easily.
Oh
Easily.
my! Not even. I wouldn't.
He's
even
gonna
think about it.
he's gonna make more money than Justin Jefferson.
No.
He's gonna make more money than Nick Bosa. And if the Eagles could pay it to him, they would.
I do
Now
not
the
see that
Cowboys,
at all.
it's very fair to point out that Jerry Jones is an idiot and he taxes himself and he's going to have to pay CD Lamb more than he would have. He's going to have to pay Dak Prescott more than he would have. He's going to have to pay Micah Parsons more than he would have if he was proactive. That's a different conversation. That's one of those. That's
Is he the
one of
best edge in the league for you? You think he's better than Myles Garrett? You think he's better than Nick Bosa?
I think Myles Garrett is the best edge rusher, but he's number 2 for me. And he's gonna, but it's his turn.
His turn to get paid. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal. And by the way, the Cowboys fell ass backwards into it. They thought he was an all-ball linebacker. So, and then you add Mike Zimmer to the mix, and if he brings that A-gap shit back, and I don't know what Mike's going to do because he's 70 years old and he's grew up, but if he brings that shit back, the Eagles are going to have some issues. I'll tell you that. But we'll see how that shakes out.
Highest paid non-quarterback in the league. You better be playing late in the year, unlike he has been in recent months.
Apologies when he gets that contract. I expect them. I expect them every put in the line.
If he is the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL, I will apologize to you right here on Birds Free.
That's your first Jody moment where you're so off base I can't even discuss it.
I'll take it. All right, let's get to our first commercial break. Martin Frank coming up next. So stay tuned, everybody, on Birds 365.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.